it's a really great honor and pleased, to have a chance to give a talk. You see, in the front of previous scholars and very bright students of College of Architect and Landscape. And I'd like to sincere gratitude to Professor Yong-Jin for inviting me over to such a, what should I say, it's a grandeur, it's a high-class interdisciplinary, just well, it's a sort of place where we exchange ideas and sort of things. So I learned a lot, from the previous talk, from Simon, James, and so Michael, and many guys gave a nice talk. All right. Anyway, let me start my talk. The title of my talk is City and Technology in Catching Up Economies, the Mechanisms of Selection, Sorting, and Learning. Actually, this paper is, I'm a theorist, so building of models and storylines about the endogenous growth theory mechanism. So actually, this slide is made for sort of PhD students and professors and for experts on economics jargons. But so in front of sort of bright students with different discipline, so I changed my strategy. Half of my strategy will be devoted to why urban planning is so important in the viewpoint of economics, and the rest will be devoted to explain my model, not in mathematics. Well, I'll show you some slides about how to construct mathematical models, but in the storytelling technique, okay? Okay, before going to complex theory, I'd like to keep you on the right track of the main storylines. So let me read the summary, okay? The first paragraph, 3 lines will be enough. The paper theoretically explains how urbanization, R&D investment, in other words, industry structure, and human capital structure, rent scheme in a city, and economic growth interact with one another, as the distance to technology frontier narrows. So, from these 3 lines, I especially like the keyword, the distance to technology frontier narrows. Because so one of the pitfalls of economists in developing countries is that they just borrow standard textbook model, it's mostly Western model, to apply to their, their own economic phenomena. So it's a sort of pitfall. It's mainly due to publish or perish or something. Yeah, but so I'd like to build up a model telling the story about the Asian development, right? So the distance to technology frontier narrows means, take an example of China. China develops so fast, so the gap between the United States and China in technology is narrowing down. So I'm saying this. So. Okay, let me go to the other slide. Okay, before going to the details, I'll show you 2 graphs, okay? So you are an expert on architect, landscape, probably you guys are more familiar with graphs and beautiful, lines and something like that. Instead of mathematics, right? Sorry for, it's hard to, Okay, this one is better. So it's one of the graphs I took from Piketty's book, okay? So actually, I have a sort of book in the form of, internet version, but I tried to copy it, but I cannot do it. So I tried to Google, but Google doesn't work this morning. So I tried to Yahoo, so I got a picture of this. This is very interesting. So he's talking about wealth distribution, and wealth composition that no economist has never done before. So you know that social science starts from the concrete fact, concrete, just the data. So we are talking about, in Korea, we are talking about, bipolarization, income disparity. But nobody ever presented any concrete evidence about how wealth is unequally distributed. I think, empirical fact it first. So this is it. So it covers period like 250 years of the United States wealth distribution. Okay, y-axis represents the proportion of wealth in terms of GDP, right? So this 700%. Usually, any country has, the wealth is about 6 times of GDP, right? So this is 600% of GDP. This is 500% of GDP. So it's the time about independence of the United States from the England reign, something rule. So their whole wealth constitutes like 5 times of GDP. Okay, out of this, about maybe 30% go to agricultural land. See, over time, this is like maybe 2010 something. This decreases, right? So almost to nil. On the other hand, this one represents the residential housing. No, residential real estate, housing asset. This increases, it takes almost 40%. In other countries like France, England, it takes more than 50%. So what I'm saying is that out of wealth, residential housing takes more than 50%. That's why urban planning is really important. So I'll talk about it later. So the distribution of the wealth, especially housing, cannot be handled in a free market because there are many features of market failures. So that's why we need urban planning. So urban is pretty important. Consider this, just a huge fraction of housing wealth out of total wealth, and on the other hand, market cannot handle that due to market failing features. So you guys are doing very, very important thing. Okay. All right, okay. So why urbanization is important? And so probably you forgot what I'm trying to do. So I will remind you again. I'm trying to explain the core movement in moving together of the variables, economic development, and the skill level of workers in cities, and the industry structure from manufacturing to knowledge-intensive industries, and rent increase. I'd like to, explain these core movements. So, actually, my storyline goes like this: as the economy develops, then industry structure transforms from highly polluting manufacturing to knowledge-intensive industry, which needs highly skilled labor. That's why we have higher wage in cities than wages in rural area. We call it urban wage premium, right? It's very important. So workers in cities get 30% more than workers in rural area. You see, it's not politically determined. It's determined economic forces. Okay, that's I'm going to explain. And moreover, rental costs increase very fast. So I'm trying to explain this. So what's the underlying mechanism that makes urbanization important? So we explain by the keyword agglomeration effect. In other words, the effects coming from when people get together. So what are they? So it's from, just, I'm sorry because my English is short. I just copied the whole sentence here, so I'll read it. Okay, there are 3 channels, okay, which make agglomeration really important economic underlying force that drives people tend to move together. It's very important. So I think you'd better memorize these 3 mechanisms. The first thing is the labor market pooling. Let's assume that you would like to construct a farm in a rural area. You need lots of workers with different skills. It will be very difficult to hire them because there are a few people around there, and even though you find out the very relevant person, that guy doesn't want to go over to that area because rural area lacks recreation center or amusement center, sort of for consumption point of view, so that urban areas can supply. So it's a labor market pooling. Okay, New York, there are a huge number of people with different skill characteristics. So if you construct a farm, okay, if you start maybe venture, venture farm, which needs a unique skill, but you can easily find, in a mega city. Okay, it's a labor market pooling. Okay, second paragraph is a little bit technical, but it's a very important mechanism too. A larger pool of workers also facilitates better skill matches between workers and firms, possibly resulting in a specialization. So it's a specialization. You know what I'm saying? In the modern economy, specialization really play a major role in increasing productivity, right? So second thing is input sharing. Density of productive activity. Okay, when people get together and they form a huge society, density of productive activity allows firms to outsource their inputs from suppliers who can produce at an efficient scale of production by exploiting scale economies. You know what I'm saying? So it's a really important thing. It's just a concrete example of a conference. People get together. We are sharing ideas with really small transportation costs. So we have to take a shuttle bus, just going back and forth. It takes maybe 1 hour, but there's a small amount of cost. So that's why we gather together and we are sharing ideas. That is knowledge spillovers. Interactions among entrepreneurs, workers are facilitated by hyphen density. It's a density of population. Okay? This enhances economic performance. These 3 items are for productive side, but there is 1 or 2 items for consumption side, economies of consumption. Especially Professor Florida, he talked about sort of consumption thing, and you can enjoy in the urban area various services, but in the rural areas it's limited because maybe due to economies of scale, producers cannot provide various services because there are few customers. But that's why the last item, economies of consumption. People have amenities such as good restaurants close by. All right, so what I'm saying is that you guys are working on learning very important things, urban planning. So urban thing is very important because the urban thing is dealing with a huge amount of wealth, and moreover, economic growth is driven by agglomeration effects, mostly coming from urbanization. Okay, but there is one piece of logic remains to be explained. These things can be can be facilitated in a free market. Why we need artificial planning? Okay, that's very important too. So, where is it? It's a we call it market failing features. Okay, I'll explain it. Yeah. Okay, market failing features coming from theory of four reasons. First thing is public good property, like making a nice landscape by constructing nice view commanding parks. It takes a huge amount of fixed cost. So, in that industry, is free market work very inefficiently. Another important item is externalities. Externalities means you are affected, even though you are doing nothing, by somebody else's activities. Like, your friend is smoking there, so we know that indirect smoking is very hazardous to our health. You didn't do anything, but somebody else's action will affect you. Like pollution and traffic congestion. It's Beijing faces, right? It's externalities. In other words, if we let the free market, dissipate all these things out, there will be inefficiencies at the level of society. So to make the society better, we do something about it, right? So on the other hand, we know that there is a government failure too, right? So the authoritative governments probably due to moral hazard, in other words, these guys are bad guys, so then probably they cannot do properly. But anyway, the optimal point may be, somehow between these two polar cases. Okay, see, so I'm explaining why urban planning is very important. Urbanization is very important, and I told you that. And the planning is essential because market failures, right? So you guys are learning very important thing. Okay, so I'm sorry you cannot read the small names over there. So neither do I. So, okay, this graph shows actually empirical phenomena that is relevant to my story. Okay, I'll tell you how to read this graph. Okay, x-axis represents the agglomeration effect. Agglomeration effect can be measured, can be defined by how much productivity will increase when population doubles. So you know the agglomeration effects, positive effects, but we know that there are negative effects, right? Pollution and congestion and a lot of things. But we are focusing on positive effects now. So will increase when people get together. So in other words, population density increases, productivity increases, right? So this is agglomeration effect. So x-axis represents that. So it's in percentage point. So x-axis represents when population doubles, how much percent productivity will increase, okay? It's very interesting. Let's see. This is education and health. It's a model. This is government, mostly public sector, right? So, okay, let me explain y-axis. Y-axis represents the average skill level, human capital level of each specific industry. Okay, education health is public sector. The human capital level of workers there is very low. Yeah, right? And it's a government sector, this administration sector, manufacturing sector. But on the other hand, if you go there, so they have high level of human capital, and also they have high level of agglomeration effect. These industries are arts and entertainment, right? It's sort of what you're doing is art, architect and landscape. It belongs to art. So you guys should be very intelligent, So this graph shows that high level of, and this is sort of professional services like law and finance managers and medical doctors, something like that. And this is some IT sector, and so R&D sector, maybe like that. So this graph shows that when specific industry has high level of skill of workers, then their agglomeration effects will increase. This storyline is quite consistent with my storyline. Actually, his research is providing empirical evidence, but my job is, just out of this empirical evidence, I'll make a sort of consistent and intelligent, understandable model. So, actually, his conclusion is this: consistent with theories, learning and knowledge spillovers. So agglomeration effects coming from three sources, right? So transportation. Oh, I never talked about it. Okay, transportation cost. Because you get together, you will save transportation cost. Okay, and the human capital spillovers, knowledge spillovers. When we get together, it's easy to communicate, exchange our creative ideas. Actually, that's the main engine of, driving force of modern economic growth. So think creatively. It's really motto. And the third thing is forward and backward linkages. Any firm, any assembly line needs parts. So parts producing small firms and assembly line, large firms get together, then transportation costs will be lowered, and there will be some kind of agglomeration effects, and the productivity will increase. Okay, three sources of agglomeration effects. But his paper, actually, the agglomeration effects depend on the human capital level of workers. Professors are here. We feel that if students are smart, it's pretty easy to educate them, transfer our ideas to the other guys. So this is a very, very important mechanism when we talk about human capital spillovers. Adoption cost, lower the adoption cost by building a human capital. So be smart. So the Chinese people are just investing education very much. God bless you guys. Your parents are really nice. Just like Korean parents 30 years ago. They tighten their belts and invest everything for you guys, right? It's pretty good because human capital never perishes away. After the World War II, Germany and Japan just demolished. But after that, within 20 years, they just recovered. Do you know why? Because their human capital never perished. They know how to build everything, how to organize everything. All they need is just a physical capital. To master physical capital is very easy because there is a sort of international capital mobility. So, so human capital is a key, right? All right, I'm sorry, I'm just repeating my mentor, Robert Lucas' ideas. I'm just a copy of him, okay. All right, let me finish these two paragraphs. It's very important and consistent with my story. Consistent with theories of learning and knowledge spillovers and series, we demonstrate that empirically, the elasticity of average labor productivity means average wage rate, okay? Average wage rate with respect to density of population increases with human capital. So what it shows is that, as I told you, if we have a higher level of employees, then we can adopt more knowledge from outside. So if we have, if our firm is located with a much crowded area, then we are exposed to so many creative ideas. So if our employees are smart enough, they adopt so many ideas, and our firm's productivity will increase. I think this pattern is really important. I'd like to put emphasis on this. Don't forget, okay, so I'm really pleased I have a chance to give a lecture to students here. Don't forget that the role of human capital is adopting ideas. Don't think that the role of education. Education is learning skills. No, skills are evolving all the time. Today's skill, tomorrow you cannot find it. So, especially in the rapidly, fastly growing economy, you should learn how to adapt yourself to the new environments, and then decipher the various informations, and out of your deciphered ideas, you create something. So that's the primary role of education. Think out of box thinking. So actually, this is the main message. These patterns are particularly pronounced in industries where the exchange of information, sharing of ideas are important parts of the production process. Okay, this is the actually, I'd like to make a story out of this line. I show this. Okay, let me check my time. How many times do I have? Huh? 5 minutes? Yeah. Okay, all right. So, okay. So actually, this is all. 20 minutes. Okay, 20 minutes. Okay. All right. So then I can take time. All right. So you ever heard about Piketty's capitalism in the 21st century? I read the whole book, very meticulously, and I'll tell you 2 aspects I like most, which is very important to economists and or to leaders, of developing countries. Actually, okay, let me go to Piketty here. It's Bruno Milanovic. He's an economist. He published his comment on Piketty's book in Journal of Economic Literature. It's a really good journal. And he starts with this sentence, okay? He said that Piketty regards economics as a social science that can flourish only if. Actually, Piketty's contribution to economics is not, he started talking about distribution. Actually, he's attacking the methodologies and spirits of the main economic discipline. So that's why so many Nobel laureates are mad about him. He points out 2 things. The first thing is it adds important, not trivial questions. So this one I'd like to, say to the sort of, young guys. This means, okay, you are learning, how to make a good architecture. Okay, so how to make a construction that commanding a really nice landscape. So after that, probably, if you face a problem, if you have a project, probably you apply the standard model or something. But what he says is that starts from the problem, just forgetting about the models you learn. It's out-of-box thinking. It's very important. It's especially important to economists because we are trained to use mathematical tools. So, you mean with mathematics precision. Mathematics is a language with high precision of logic, calculus. You know that? So it's a writing style, but with high precision of it's a logic, calculus. But if you try to understand the phenomena with a really sharp precision tool, then your framework will be narrowed down. You can explain what is love. what's the benefit of social gathering or so giving donations, something like that? Every human activity is involved not only rational prefrontal activity, but also emotional things are involved. So we cannot solve the emotional things. So his lesson is just start with the real problem you're facing, rather than with a tool you try to find out the project your tool can be applied. It's really important because in the professional economics, so economists mostly do trying to find out trivial things. The mathematical models, standard models they learned can be applied. It's really important. The second thing is actually, and probably you guys are already doing this. From the conference yesterday, what I learned is that, okay, in this discipline, architect and landscape, they already talked about interdisciplinary approach or something. So many things are involved there. So that just creativity comes from, you should not forget this, creativity comes from creative recombination of ideas. The first thing you must do is that, so gather various ideas, right? And the next step is just learn how to combine them creatively. So actually, in my model, this kind of idea is involved there. So the second thing is actually it's a second attack against the current, the mainstream economics. Uses empirical and historical methods instead of sterile model building. Actually, he's talking about sterile mathematical models only. So Professor Michael Sulkin is talking about this, right? So I think he went too much though, from the economist viewpoint. But however, it's very nice talk. Okay. All right. So long story is before the going to my main business. Okay. What I'm going to do is pick up the salient empirical fact. Okay, so and try to build a model about it. So this is all about social science. Yes. Okay. And every science should try to from data. Natural science starts from the natural phenomena and the natural data, and just like that, social science starts from data from the so people's activities and phenomena or something. So this is the fact I'm trying to explain. So as I talked to you before, economic development, urbanization, urban age premium, fraction of knowledge-based industry, transformation of industry, and the urban rent move together. Okay. Okay. Here's a nice, nice paragraph. Which is talking about, the empirical fact about this. Okay. Let me. Read very quickly because I'm running out of time. Japan, China, and the Republic of Korea accounted for 84% of East Asia's GDP in 2005. Within these three countries, just 6 urban regions generate 45% of the aggregate domestic production. Moreover, 42% of Korea's population reside in the Seoul, Incheon region, and 40% of the population of Japan live and work in the metropolitan areas of Tokyo, Osaka, and Nagoya. So we are talking about China, okay? 80 to 85 million people, over 6% of the total population, live in the metropolitan precincts of Shanghai, Beijing, Tianjin, and the Pearl River Delta, excluding Hong Kong, and 36% of China's GDP originates from the 3 sprawling regions. So this phenomenon is everywhere. The notable characteristics of these urban regions, apart from size, is that they are attracting industries with high value added and centers of knowledge intensive activities. That's what we are trying to explain, the co-movement of economic development and the fraction of knowledge intensive industries. The mega urban regions are not a passing phenomenon. It's not a passing phenomenon, right? They are likely to persist and to enlarge their economic footprints because they benefit from the advantage of market scale, agglomeration economies, location, and the increasing concentration of talented workers. So skilled workers will sort themselves into the city. Okay, that's the phenomena. So out of this phenomena, I'm trying to make a sort of understandable storyline in mathematics. Okay, so let me read another paragraph. They propose a learning hypothesis. So he's trying to explain urban wage premium. This urban wage premium. Why, people in cities are paid more than those in rural areas by 33%. It's a huge amount of money. So workers in cities earn 33% more than those outside the cities. The learning hypothesis means even though those workers are of the same skill level, but if you live in urban areas, you are exposed to many creative ideas, face-to-face contact. Okay, so which increases your productivity. That's why urban wage premium exists. That's also suggests that cities can help accumulate human capital more rapidly. All right, so this is very important. All right, and let me go to. I'll explain. Actually, mathematics is actually Piketty said that mathematics is just a pretense of rigor. You know what I'm saying? Pretense of rigor. So yeah, I agree to a certain degree, but it's, anyway. So my model is to make this storyline in mathematics is pretty tough, and I'm not saying my model is very good, but it's okay though. But the whole storyline in English will, I think, carry the whole contents of the model. So don't worry about the mathematical model. Okay, you don't have to go through that. Okay, my model starts with this assumption: with one country's distance to technology frontier narrowing. So it's a keyword these days. Yeah. Distance to the technology frontier. We use lots of times. This means the technology gap between United States and one specific country just dwindles down. Okay, shrinks. Okay. In other words, China develops. As China develops, technology adoption becomes productive. See, I mean, when the technology gap is huge, it's very easy to learn many things. But if the gap shrinks, then it's more difficult to get, just more additional knowledge from the other guys because the gap is small. Moreover, just the country at the technology frontier will probably inhibit the followers by making lawsuits and sort of patents and a lot of things. So it will be very difficult. So as one country develops, technology adoption will become very difficult. So we should resort to technology creation. To create something, we need more higher skilled labor. So as the economy develops, industry structure should be changed to more knowledge-intensive industry. I think this thing is very important. So when you guys are talking about urban planning, so I think probably in terms of information or material, just channeling, the urban should be planned such as that the industry's information material flows can be efficiently executed. So, all right, suddenly one more. Okay, it's almost done. This pushes the wage of technology creation sector relatively higher, increasing the relative demand for skilled labor and its supply. This is quite easy to understand. Only agents with high ability become skilled workers after getting proper education because their high ability lowers the time cost of education. It's a Stiglitz-wise argument. So what's the role of education? Someone says education probably increases your knowledge, skill, and thus productivity. On the other hand, somebody said education is just a signaling mechanism. everybody cannot go to college because if your IQ is very low, it'll take 10 years to graduate or get a college diploma. So, for those guys, low ability guys, it's best choice not to go to college. Okay, it's a screening device. So, I mean, this kind of thing is hanging around, in the real world. So, okay, there exists this urban wage premium. So everybody would like to go to cities. But the cities want high-skilled labor. Okay, my model is a very simplified version. To highly skilled labor, you should get diploma. So this is a screening device. So only high ability agents will go to inside the city, okay? And this is very important. Only skilled workers migrate to cities that we call sorting, sort themselves into cities. Working only in the knowledge-intensive technology creation sector is because only skilled workers can afford to pay for high urban rents because of their high productivity arising from their fast learning from knowledge spillover in cities. It's very important too. So the higher rent in cities play the role of a screening device. So I mean, in the communist countries, just let all the rents at the low level as possible. Then you neglect the market efficient screening device mechanism. You know what I'm saying? So this is very important. So now you see, the four variables co-move together. Okay. Okay. Then what's the policy implications out of this? Okay. Okay. Well, I'll skip this. It's, okay. Results of the model and its policy implications. I'll reiterate, okay, the results I got. A decrease in the distance of technology frontier, in other words, China develops, increases city size and the ratio is rental price to wage by increasing the demand and wage for highly skilled workers, because you are forced to rely on more knowledge, dependent industry, resulting in an increase in their supply and spillover effects within a city. The equivalent rental price of a location decreases as it is located farther away from the center of the city. So this is a sort of equilibrium result. If landowners' rental income is shared with highly skilled workers, so rent, it's a purely rent. So from the economic point of view, the control the rent a little bit, then everybody will be happy. So, in other words, there is some kind of a market failing feature in the sort of land supply, because the supply of land is fixed. So there will not be any competitive forces. So this kind of thing happens. So subsidizing lands for the entrepreneurs just takes into form the economy grows faster as a result of increasing supply of human capital, city size, and the productivity of basic R&D activities. Advancement in information technology or in green technology, represented by a decrease in the geographic attenuation rate of information, increase the city size and economic growth. So it's a little bit related to your discipline. Oh, okay, time's up. So I'm up. Again, I'm really happy to have a chance, to my talk to young guys here, very bright and prosperous, just future, something like that. Thank you very much, and thank you especially Professor Yu. Okay, bye.